All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our weekly show. We call it Three Broke Guys Handicapping, where we review one of the top racing cars from around the United States. Now, normally we select a four-race sequence from that track and attempt to come to a consensus on a pick four ticket. Tonight, however, we will play a slightly different exotic wager as we attempt to hit the pick three, which spans both days. Thank you for joining us as we review the Kentucky Oaks, the Woodford Reserve Turf Classic, and, of course, the Kentucky Derby. My name is Rich Sharp, and each week I'll be joined by my friends and racing analysts. He is from Staten Island, New York, and I know he's been to a Kentucky Derby, but I'm not sure if he's been to the Kentucky Oaks. So welcome, Mr. Ray Rock.
How are you this evening? How you doing, guys?
I'm doing good, Ray. Have you ever been to the Kentucky Oaks before?
Yeah, we went to Oaks with Joe.
Yes, we did, sir.
All righty.
Yes, we did.
1999.
Do you remember who?
Oaks
Do you
and
remember
Derby.
who won that year? I don't.
Oh my goodness. Now you're killing me.
Okay, let's maybe we'll save that for Friday. Let's move on.
And you hear already.
Trivia question.
And you've already got his answer to the question. So from Temecula, California, that's my other friend, my other racing analyst here, Joe English. Yeah, I guess you've already been to the Kentucky Oaks. Who did you see at the Kentucky Oaks, Joe?
Like I said, I don't remember who won in '99 or 2001. To be honest with you, I know Charismatic won the '99 Derby and War Emblem won the 2001 Derby, but and those are unfortunately the only times we've been there. But otherwise, like I said, I can't remember who won the Oaks in either year. I want to think Silver Bullet Day might have been one of them, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
All right, and as I said a little earlier, my name is Rich Sharp, and tonight the Three Broke Guys Handicapping has our very first sponsor. I'm going to bring up a YouTube video for you here while I tell you a little bit about Lulu's Baby Stop. So hold on one moment, folks. Let me get my my screen share working here for you. Yeah. Oh, hold on one moment. Let me see if I can get my... Well, let me see if I can get this to come up here. Hold on one more moment. There it is. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and go into the mode where they allow me to present to everyone. So everybody should be seeing this video right now. And I will go ahead and hit it for you here at Lulu's Baby Stop. You still there, guys?
Yes, we did.
Very nice.
Yeah. All right.
Well, it should be maybe. Well, I don't want to. Maybe you should be making a Nyquist doll next week.
Well,
but I guess we'll have to. We'll see about that on Saturday. But
and I'll just give you a little description. She's a friend of mine, and she makes the most amazing creations. Those actually are out of macrame that she makes those. She does those through crochet. As the name suggests, she makes items for babies, but Jenny can make anything. As you saw in her video, she makes superheroes, cartoons, TV characters, and even the best horse on the planet. And Lulu's Baby Stop is online, so there you go. If you want to find her, you can contact Jenny at her Facebook page or her Twitter feed, or contact one of the broke guys via Twitter, and we'll certainly put you in touch with Jenny. I gave her that picture of California Chrome, and now he's in my office forever. If you can see him, he's up there on the shelf behind us. So if you have a small business and you are interested in advertising on our show, contact one of the broke guys, and we'd be happy to show your items here. Now we are going to turn our attention to Friday afternoon at Churchill Downs in Louisville. And outside the Breeders' Cup, this is the most lucrative race in the country for female horses. A brief check of the weather forecast for Louisville on Friday afternoon. You get 73 degrees, mostly sunny, and 0% chance of rain. Saturday forecast, for those who are wondering, right now is holding at an 84 degrees forecast. They have a slight chance for morning showers, so just keep that in mind on Saturday morning. For Friday, there is a total of 13 races. There are 6 stakes races on tap. For tonight, we are focused on just the one. The Kentucky Oaks is race number 11 from Friday. The Woodford Reserve Turf Classic is on Saturday, as of course is the Kentucky Derby, which is race number 11 and 12 on Saturday. So, gentlemen, we've got our gates locked and loaded. Shall we go ahead and get started?
Let's go.
Yes, sir. Yep.
First up, the
Ready to go.
Longines Kentucky Oaks. It is a grade 1 for 3-year-old fillies only. Once again, purse is $1 million. They're going 9 furlongs, or 1 1/8 miles on the main track. 14 starters, and your lukewarm morning line favorite at 7-2 is quite possibly the best bred horse in North America. Her name is Rachel's Valentina, and she's in post number 11. Joe, you got us here, and you get to go first in the Oaks.
Terrific. Thanks, Rich. Unfortunately, I have to go with. Unfortunately, I want to go with the winner, to be honest with you, but I'm going with the lukewarm favorite. I like Rachel Valentina. I think she's going to run better second time since the Breeders' Cup. She did everything. She stalked the pace. She took the lead. She did everything other than win the Ashland, and I just think she's going to get a really good trip sitting outside the 2 Gulfstream invaders, Go Maggie Go, and Paola Queen, and she'll be able to just go whenever she needs to. I kind of think she'll be the leader at the top of the lane, and somebody's going to have to run her down. I also, underneath, I kind of like Lewis Bay. She won pretty easy in the slop in the Gazelle at Aqueduct, and she should be able to save a bit of ground from that inside box. And this is her 3rd start off the layoff. Also, underneath, I like Landover Sea. She finally got that breakthrough win. She'd been chasing Songbird for a long time. But I'm not sure about what she beat in the Fairgrounds Oaks, and she might get stuck with a wide trip. I would expect her to be able to save a little bit of ground and come in, because she can sit a little bit further back in the pack and make her move later. But it is possible that she could get stuck wide, so that's why I kind of like her in an underneath spot. A couple of long shots I like. I like Royal Obsession. Even though she wasn't getting to Lewis Bay late in the Gazelle, she's bred to run all day, and Florian Giroux gets back aboard, she could sneak into the exotics. And for the same reason, Landover Sea, I kind of like Landover Sea. We liked Landover Sea when she won the Fairgrounds Oaks. I kind of like Mocat a little bit as well, because she's been chasing Songbird, and she's been chasing Songbird on Songbird's home track, which isn't necessarily kind to closers. She's going to get a much better setup here, and I think I don't know. I don't think she can win the race, but I think she can hit the board at a big number. Those are the horses I like, and I want to point out a couple that I don't like necessarily. And one of them, believe it or not, is the morning line second choice, Catherine Sophia. I just think on her best day, she should have beat that field last time out. She'd been running. Didn't have any layoff issues. Rachel Valentina was coming off a long layoff from the Breeders' Cup till that race, and on her best day, she should have beat that field, including Rachel's Valentina. And I just think I think she may be over the top, and I just don't know if she's going to run as good a race this time out. Yes, she's 4 for 5, and she's a win machine, and she'll also take money, which is another reason I would probably play against her. I also don't necessarily like Terra Promessa. She had I watched the 2 races she ran at Oaklawn, and they were absolute perfect setups. She sat way out in the middle of the track, and she just pounced when she needed to. And she barely beat Taxable in that last one. And those 2 were both grade 3s. She's stepping up against much tougher today. Yes, she's 12-1, and if the odds were right, I'd probably play her. or I might use her underneath, but I just don't think she's going to get the setup, especially being that she's on the rail. And Weep No More, Rich and I discussed this earlier today, and I just don't think Weep No More is going to be able to just get that trip, or the same trip she got in the Ashland, running up the rail around the far turn and basically running around the rail the whole track and just angling out when she could. In a 5-horse field, it's a lot different. There's going to be 13 other horses she's got to get through and weave traffic, so she's going to be stuck, probably trying to go around everybody. And I think she may be up against it, and especially at 9-2, I wouldn't necessarily like her. But the top 3 choices for me would be 11, Rachel's Valentina, 3, Lewis Bay, and 13, Landover Sea, with a couple of bombs to possibly fill out the trifecta spots and the superfecta spots. That's my analysis of the Kentucky Oaks, and I'm going to send it to Staten Island. Ray, take it away.
All right, thanks, Joe. This is the Kentucky Oaks. It's also part of the Kentucky Oaks Derby Double, if you guys want to play that also. Usually what I like to do is just bet everybody and find one horse in the Derby and be alive. For this pick 3, I'm going to be looking at Lewis Bay. I like Lewis Bay as my top choice. She's won the 3 out of 5. She got 2 seconds to Catherine Sophia. She's proven twice at the distance, and she has good acceleration late in the race. Of course, Rachel Valentina, they'll be catching her. I think Lewis Bay might be able to run her down. I do like Rachel Valentina for second. She's actually looking for a first win around 2 turns. She probably definitely needed the Ashland coming off the layoff. And she should improve in this spot. I also like Mokat, who was chasing Songbird, like Joe said. And her only wins on the turf, but I think she's going to like the Churchill dirt surface. So, some horses usually can transform their turf running into the Churchill. I also like Landover Sea, chose Songbird, and she did get a nice win last time. But yeah, Joe, I agree. I don't really know who she beat last time because it was kind of the race camp below light. Who else? Catherine Sophia, I'm not too crazy about. I don't think she'll get the distance. She probably, even with the connections entering her late in the race, they were doubtful. So who knows if they just throw in there. But she's gonna get some money because of her credentials, 4 out of 5. But I would leave off my ticket. And that's about it for the Oaks. And don't forget the All Derby bets, $28. Find one horse in Derby you like, hopefully a long shot. You can click on something big. All right, Rich.
Okay, over to me here. I like to look at the prep races just like we look at for the Kentucky Derby when I look at the Kentucky Oaks. I used 5 prep races kind of leading into this one, and then one of them got completely tossed out. So the Santa Anita Oaks did not appear at all in my handicapping because of Songbird. Joe and I stood in the rain to watch Songbird win the Santa Anita Oaks, and then I turned around and tossed it because, of course, Songbird's not here. So the other 4 races would be the Gazelle, the Fairground Oaks, the Ashland, and the Gulfstream Park Oaks. I give a lot of preference as well to Gulfstream Park. So unfortunately, maybe Ray can put his hands over his ears for a few minutes while I sit there and say that I just didn't like the Gazelle, the pace and everything else. For whatever reason, I am just not sold on that race, and so I was able to toss the 2 from the Gazelle. Lewis Bay and Royal Obsession would not have appeared in mine. Landover Sea, and Joe already touched on why Landover Sea is going to be on it. She was on our ticket, first of all, back at the fairgrounds. I was at Universal Studios that day when Ray texted me and said, "Oh, look how happy she looks to not see Songbird," and sure enough, that's exactly how she ran that day. And once again, she's going to get to a gate where she's going to be looking around, and she's not going to see Songbird. So for all we know, she's going to be real happy again. Joe touched on Catherine Sophia, just a wonderful horse coming into the Ashland. Everybody was just singing her praises, all the kind words about her. Now, there are many nasty 4-letter words that often get said in horse racing, and Joe can attest to it because he's heard me say many of them while standing next to me at Santa Anita and Del Mar. But the ugliest 4-letter word in horse racing now appears on Catherine Sophia's racing form. You can look at it and see it in the last one. It's H-U-N-G, and you don't ever want to see that. That's exactly what she did when Weep No More snuck up behind her. As Joe said, Rachel's Valentina had every right for an excuse in that race, and seeing what you did. Catherine Sophia did not. So that horse does concern me a little bit. On the other hand, I do respect John Service quite a bit. Wonderful horseman there. I'm trying to remember the jockey combination there. Did he go with Velasquez? I'd be remiss to toss her in this particular instance. I'm sorry, it's Javier Castellano. And so I would put that one on there. And my top pick is right with Joe. So I was with Rachel's Valentina. You heard me talking about her during the intro. Her dad is Bernardini. Her mom is Rachel Alexandria. I consider her to be kind of what we would think of as thoroughbred royalty here in the United States of America. She very well could be the best bred horse in the United States of America. And she full well had an excuse there in the Ashland when she ran a fantastic race and got beat by a megahertz Zenyatta type finish by Weep No More, which, again, Joe already alluded to it. I don't think she's megahertz, and I don't think she's Zenyatta, so I don't think Weep No More is going to get that setup again. And I don't think she's a super horse that's just going to be able to overcome these better horses in front of her. So my ticket here actually looked a little strange. I went 11, 12, 13. I just went all the way out to the outside. I mentioned the Gulfstream Park Oaks. One of the things that I've learned in horse racing over the years, I've actually heard it from TVG analyst Simon Ray is the one that I would respect the most on this one, who says, beware those undefeated horses. So there is a horse coming out of the Gulfstream Park Oaks. Her name is Go Maggie Go. She is a speed type. She likes to be up on the lead and things like that. She's the one in there that would concern me about tossing. I did not have any concern about tossing the top two finishers from the Gazelle, but I wasn't too sure about tossing a horse that's only had 2 lifetime starts, a maiden win, and then followed that up by jumping right up in the Gulfstream Park Oaks. So Go Maggie Go would be the one other horse that I would consider in there. But I would feel fairly comfortable going with an 11, 12 ticket. And if I needed to, an 11-13 ticket, and if I needed to include Catherine Sophia, if I really need a horse that hangs on my ticket, I guess that would be my third one.
It's funny. I did see the same thing on John Service questioning whether Catherine Sophia is going to get a 1 1/8. I saw it. I'm trying to remember. I guess it was on It might have been on Twin Spires blog, if I recall seeing that there a couple days ago.
I watched the replay, 2 or 3 times. I've said this before when I've watched replays like that. Sometimes your eyes are expecting it. I expect Catherine Sophia to win that replay every time, despite what I know is about to happen, because she's just set right there. No excuses whatsoever.
And to be honest, Rich, I probably wouldn't. It wouldn't be so bad if she had at least gotten past Rachel's Valentina.
Rachel's Valentina, right?
She didn't even get past Rachel's Valentina, and she was in. Basically, Rachel's Valentina showed guts to fight back just to get in front of Catherine Sophia, even though she got beat by Weep No More. Like I said, I'm just wondering if Catherine Sophia may be over the top, and maybe she needs a break as opposed to needing this race.
That's where I bring up John Service.
I don't disagree, and as we discussed before the show started, we were talking about owners who possibly wanted to run the horse as opposed to the trainer wanting to run the horse, and that usually scares me. But without knowing who was the impetus for making sure that this horse got into this race, it's kind of hard to say. Like I said. She's a win machine, and it's hard to toss. But I'm just not sold right now. And she's going to take money, and who knows? She may even go off favored. We'll have to see. Because the one thing about dead money is that dead money likes to see horses that win, and she's won 4 out of 5, where Rachel Valentina's won twice, 2 out of 4. So this one's 4 out of 5, and this one's 2 out of 4. Well, the dead money is going to go to the one that's 4 out of 5.
I didn't get my trivia question in there. I forgot to put that one in there, and I meant to get that in before here and like that. So I've got a trivia question for the broke guys, which is we've been discussing Uncle Mo. There was actually an article in the LA Times today about Uncle Mo. That's how popular a sire he has become and things like that. Can anybody tell me, combined between the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks, how many sons and daughters of Uncle Mo do we have start entering in the Kentucky Derby and the Oaks combined?
I'd be guessing at this point. I'd say probably 6, maybe 7.
Yeah, and Ray's got it. Actually, Ray just hit it. So it's 5. There's 3 in the Derby and 2 in the Oaks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you talk about a sire of sires and what a performance. So,
Is it,
all right.
we should check Tappet too. I wonder. I'm not sure Tappet has the same impact, at least right now, but
Yeah, you know
that
me
too.
right now. I'm really big on the Uncle Mo's right now, so you're absolutely right, Joe. I'm sure Tappet has done that or been at
Mhm.
least around that before.
Well,
There are a couple of
it may be this year. I mean, that's why I'm saying maybe
exactly.
we can look at it and
Yeah.
we'll check. We'll check before Friday's show.
Okay, we are making a swing here. We're going away from the girls. We're going away from the dirt, and we are going away from Friday. In fact, so that was the one horse or the one race that we were going to cover on Friday. We are on to Saturday. This is the middle leg of the exotic that we're trying, which is a pick three. For those of you who are TDG bettors, and I guess I did want to bring this up before I forget it and let it kind of slide out of my mind. But those of you who are on TVG, they are having one of their promotions, and I believe they have advertised it for this Friday that they are tripling their odds on your pick on your first $10 bet in the Kentucky Derby. So I believe if you've got a nice pick in there, maybe if you want Nyquist at their 3-1 odds that they're talking about, like that, they're tripling the odds on your first $10 bet. Once again, on to Saturday. This is the Woodford Reserve Turf Classic. It's a Grade 1 for 4-year-olds and upwards, and the purse is $500,000. They are going 9 furlongs or a mile and an eighth. 13 starters, and your morning line favorite is in post number 12. It's one of my favorites, actually. It's Big Blue Kitten. He's off right now at 5-2. So over to Staten Island, New York. Ray, the Woodford Reserve is open. How are you going to play it?
All right, this is the race before the Derby, so there's going to be a lot of bets going on. There'll be pick threes, pick fours, doubles. There'll be in the middle of the pick six. There'll be a lot of tickets out there. So this is a very important race. I like Big Blue Kitten, number 12. Just keeps coming and coming and coming, and this horse just runs and always in the finish. And I like to see that because you want to get your pulses going. And then what I think about this horse is that I know she's coming off a layoff, and probably need the race, but in this field you could probably get away with it. I like Speed in the Turf, Chocolate Ride number 2. Been racing well for Fairgrounds. Just got beat last time in the Mooney's Stakes. Brad Cox, biggest horse, running very well. Bolo, Mike Smith. You gotta respect Mike Smith always in these races. Stretching out a little bit off a layoff. And also, I like number 10, Tourist. Giro gets back on board. Won a few races ago. Had to probably try and stretch out here for Billy Mott. Go an extra furlong. And I think he can do it. I like for long shot, World Approval. He can sit outside and get a nice trip. And run him down the lane. He's 21 morning line. So those are my choices. 12, 10, 12, 2, 10, 11, 3. A lot of horses there. All right, who's next?
Let's send this one over to Joe. Joe, you're up on the Woodford Reserve Turf Classic.
Thanks, fellas. I kind of like Big Blue Kitten as well. I know we didn't do as much analysis on this race. At least I know I didn't personally. But Big Blue Kitten is basically been running in longer distance races, and she ran third behind Found and Golden Horn in the Breeders' Cup, and this is his first start since. But if you look at his PP show, 2 wins off layoffs at shorter distances against lesser company. So the layoff really does not concern me. What does, if there's anything that concerns me, is the possible pace scenario. I hope there's enough speed that he gets something to run at, and the fact that the horse is 8 years old. And again, I have no problem with. I don't have an age issue with horses, though. You just wonder how often they're going to keep going to the well. And he's 14 for 30 lifetime, 27 to 30 in the money. So you can't fault what he's done on the track. But being that he's going to be a short price, and he's got an outside box, I still like him. I still think he's the most likely winner, at least at this point. but I do have my concerns. I also like Tourist, like Ray had mentioned. This is his second start off the layoff, and he gets an extra furlong to run today. The only concern I have about him is that in 3 Grade 1 tries, he's been good enough to finish underneath in the exacted in the try, but not good enough to win. And the other horse I like is Devisadero. This is his third start off the layoff, and he's another who gets an extra furlong to run. And he was closing in the Gulfstream race last time out. The only concern again is the Grade 1 level. He ran 1 Grade 1 in the Belmont Derby, and he really wasn't much of a factor. I think he's a little bit better horse now, so I think he's got a chance at a price. So those are my 3. I believe it's 12, 10, and 12, 10, and 8. I'm not sure of the numbers. My PPs didn't have the numbers in them, but I know Big Blue Kitten is the 12. So those would be my top choices: Big Blue Kitten, Tourist, and Devisadero. Rich, take it away.
And Joe alluded to the problem for the 3 broke guys. So, folks, just like every other handicapper in the country, we got our forms today, this afternoon for the Saturday race. Probably about 2.5 hours ago, if we were lucky. Speaking for Ray and Joe, I both know that they were dealing with the stresses of work today.
Yeah.
So, it's a little bit tough to get off from work and put in a lot of analysis on big races on a tough field like this. And speaking for myself, again, I know I probably had about an hour here, maybe with the Woodford Turf Reserve, and in between that, I was making our notes and getting ready for tonight's show. So I think on Friday night, you will get a much better 3 broke guys opinion than what you got tonight. So maybe take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, or just knock on wood with these opinions tonight. These are our preliminary Woodford Turf ones, and I think on Friday night we'll probably have a lot better for you. So,
this should be a part of our pick 4, So.
Yeah, exactly. This will be part of the Big 4 that we'll play again on Friday night. So I'm with the guys. I'm a bit of a chalk-eating weasel here. As you heard me say in the intro, it's not gonna help any of that. I like Big Blue Kitten. So does Joe's wife Denise, because she likes every horse that's named after a cat.
All the kitten horses.
That's very true.
All the kitten horses.
Very true.
I don't have any problems with that. Again, he's got a absolutely sensational horseman for a trainer. As a matter of fact, I am only going to use the 2 horses that came from this trainer for myself in this race. I'm going to caveat that. Joe has heard me say this. I have a paranoia about the turf races. For anybody who's heard me say it, I love California horses. I have a tendency to side towards California horses on everything except for grass races, in which case I usually toss them out a little bit like my favorite character from Let It Ride does. I just look for the California horse and they're gone. That's all we do. Joe has seen me do it the last 2 years on Kentucky Derby Day, and he's held my hand while I watched the California horse win the 2 turf races that knocked me out of the pick 4 the last 2 years. It was Global Magician 2 years ago, and last year it was Finnegan's Wake. Joe and I were sitting across from each other dressed up all nice as we watched our pick 4 go up in smoke and the California horse win on the turf. So I'm sensitive to that. The good thing is that there's 2 other races in this pick 4, so maybe there's some California turf horses that can get me off that hex before I have to get to this one. And I won't really have to look at a Bolo or a Midnight Storm very carefully, because I'm really just looking at the 2 Chad Brown horses. They're both similar profile, very classy horses, classy turf horses. Slumber's the other one. He's number 6. Again, off of a layoff that goes back to the end of last year. Not really concerned about the age, not really concerned about the layoff. For Big Blue Kitten, one of the ones that might concern me a little bit more for him might be the distance. He does seem to be more of a 1.5 mile horse, a 1.25 mile horse on the turf, and maybe 1.1 mile doesn't necessarily hit him right between the eyes. I will tell anybody who's playing this is make sure you take, if you've got your Brisnet forms already. I know the formulator doesn't necessarily point to this right away, but if you've got your Brisnet already, go ahead and go to that back summary page. Take a look at that page. The Churchill Downs turf course at this distance does not play kindly to any kind of early speed wire-to-wire types of 17%. That's actually the number that you get for E and EP types combined. This track plays 83% to off-the-pace types. So look for people who are coming from the back. Again, that would be Slumber. That would be Big Blue Kitten. Right now, I'm not really on Bolo. I'm not really on Midnight Storm. And these are horses that I know exceptionally well. These are the California horses and with that. However, if by Friday night, if I have not found some other California horses that I like in those other 2 races, I might find myself back to a Bolo. He ran exceptional earlier this year. He won off of a long layoff. He ran down Obviously, who is a very, very good turf horse and known across the country. And Bolo got Obviously in that race, in a race that I don't think anybody thought Bolo was going to get him. And he came back in the next one. He ran second in the Kilroe Mile to a bit of a speed freak that's been out here. His name is What of You in California. He didn't just beat Bolo; he's been beating everybody. So just kind of take that into consideration. That I could be coming back on Friday and looking at a horse like Bolo, but right now I wouldn't go anything more than 6-12. With that, I am going to kick it off. I'm done here, and we are going to look at the big one, the granddaddy of them all. And again, we'll have a little bit more analysis, I'm sure, on Friday night about the Kentucky Derby and all of our picks. This is the favorite race of everybody handicapped here of the year. So, this is the Kentucky Derby. It's presented by Yumi Brands. It is a Grade 1 for 3-year-olds only. The purse is $2 million. They're going 10 furlongs, or 1.25 miles on the main track. There are 20 starters, and your morning line favorite, you've been hearing his name on this show, Nyquist, is in post number 13. He's got morning line odds of 3-1, and please stay right there. And again, if you are a TVG account holder, I believe they are offering a triple your odds promotion on the Kentucky Derby on your first $10 wager. Joe, this is the one we wait all year for. Take it away, my friend, but save something for Friday night.
I'll try to, Rich. What I'll do is I'll take my top choices at the moment, and I'll save the bombs and what I would do underneath for Friday. Yeah, this race is a real tricky race. We know, or at least we think we know what the pace scenario is going to be. We know who the 3 possible or most likely speed horses are. My guess is there might be 1 or 2 flies in the ointment that we don't know about yet. But to be honest, I'm not really sure. The post position draw did the early speed horse no favors. Dancing Candy got stuck in post 20, and I'm just wondering if what his trip is going to be like. Not that what it does is it makes the race different. It sets up the race completely different. He could end up doing exactly what he did in the Santa Anita Derby, going 22 and 45, and then you won't see him. The ambulance will beat him home, based on the post. If he's able to rate a little, he's got somewhat of a chance. Obviously, lone speed is always dangerous, but I'm actually leaning towards the horse that beat him in the Santa Anita Derby. I kind of like Exaggerator a little bit. I think that I don't think that slop race was a fluke, but I know he's going to need a little bit of help. The draw I don't think makes very much of a difference. He's a closer, and in a 20-horse field, you're going to need some kind of racing luck anyway. I'm leaning towards him. He's going to be at least I don't know 8. He'll probably be around his morning line of 8-1. So I think he's got a good chance to run that race back that he ran in the Santa Anita Derby. And my second choice would be Outwork. I know the Wood came back. It was the slowest Wood in, I think it was 92 or 93 years, or the slowest in the history of the race. But Outwork was wide around both turns, and he was up with that fast early pace. So I can give him an excuse for tiring. And yes, he beat an 81-1 maiden home by about, I don't know, maybe about this big. I'm not sure exactly how far he got beat. But I think Outwork has been working really well from all the workout reports that I'm hearing. He looks like he's happy, and maybe he can actually improve off that. And he's going to be one of the pace factors. He drew in between Nyquist and Dancing Candy, which kind of puts him in a little bit of a spot. But I think he's improving, and I think he's good enough that he'll hit the board. And of course, you can't not use Nyquist. 7 for 7. The superlatives you can go on for days. So I'm just not going to. I'll save some more for Friday. But those would be my top 3 choices. Exaggerator is number 11. Outwork is 17 or 18, if I remember right. I'm not exactly sure where he drew it. 15. Okay. 15. And of course Nyquist is the 13. So we're liking a lot of double-digit post positions here, with Rachel Valentina from 11, Exaggerator from 11, and Big Blue Kitten from post 12. So that is my temporary analysis, or my short version of the analysis for the Kentucky Derby, and I'll leave some more like bombs that I think can hit the board at a price for later. Ray, I think we're up to you. Take it away. What's your opinion?
Thank you. All right. Every year we look into this race, and there's like so many stats, horses going 9 furlongs, horses that haven't raced at 2, buyer figures over 95. There's a lot of stats to look at, and sometimes you just have to go with your guts. You can look at numbers all day. This is a tough race, like Joe said. A mile and a quarter, the first time in 3 years I've ever got a mile and a quarter. And you just don't know what's going to happen. 20 horses. Usually the best horse does not win. Usually the horse with the best trip wins. And the luckiest horse wins. And in this case, I'm just going to mention a few horses. I'm not saying who I like right now because I have a whole bunch of horses I do like. I like actually a little bit Mo Heyman. I know the last race, Nyquist just blew him away, but I'm willing to give him another chance. Maybe he just didn't like the track or something happened at the top of the stretch, and he just faded. But I wanted to give him another chance. He's a good horse. He's won the Remsen in November, and he's won the Fountain of Youth and the Holy Bull. So he's had some good quality wins. So I want to give him another chance. I was talking to a friend on Tuesday at Bowling Alley, and they were all over Outwork. Michael Poley from Brooklyn. They just love him. My friend says he's 17 hands high. He can run all day. So, what the race I like to talk about is actually the Tampa Bay Derby. That race came up in a lot of people's eyes as very, very fast. And that was his first time on 2 turns. He chased Destin, who had been running, and who had been, he had a prep for that race, Destin. So he was a little behind the ball chasing Destin, and they ran 1-2 pretty close. They were clear from the other horses, and I believe they broke the track record that day. I'm pretty sure. The wood came up a little light. They did, right? The wood came up light, but the wood that track was, it was a terrible, terrible day. It rained all day. It was a bunch of slop. Actually, Louis Bear, I think, ran faster than them. But it just kept raining and raining, and as the day got going on, it just got worse and worse. So you can forgive any horse for that race. The race was very weak, but the 2 horses, to go 46 on that track, just finish at 152, they did crawl home. Staggering home. But I would blame probably the track for that. It was really bad that day. And of course, I got to mention Nyquist. Nyquist, until he loses, he's the champ. He's the 2-year-old champ. He's the best thing right now since American Pharoah. So he's 7 for 7. Everybody's talking about him. And until he loses, they're going to think he's the next coming. So, and I'd like also to mention More Spirit. He's a battler. He's been in his active 7 times, 3 wins, 4 seconds, and he got the Hall of Famer Gary Stevens, who was a big-time race rider, and he might work out a good trip here. So that's about it. We'll talk more on Friday. Rich?
All right. Let's see here. We are on the Kentucky Derby, and as Joe and Ray have both kind of alluded to, we're going to give you a little bit more analysis on Friday. I really don't need to go too deeply into this one. I've really got one very unlucky number for all of us to look at when it comes to that big race on Saturday. Ray and I, back when we started this up with Three Broke Guys, we kind of did a little intro video. And in my intro video, I kind of gave you my personal analysis of how I view horse racing and how I view the Kentucky Derby every year, which is these last few years, I really don't focus on the entire country or not the big field as much as I used to, and really focus more on finding the best horse in California. And even when we started this a few weeks ago, even back when the year started, back in December when Joe and I went to opening day together, everybody that was in California, we all knew who the best horse in California was. He was undefeated. We've been talking about him since last summer. So his name is Nyquist. He's the best horse. He's undefeated. There was an article in the LA Times this week that tried to allude to the fact of this isn't rocket science. Try not to overthink it. It is about who the fastest horse is. A couple of years ago, that horse was California Chrome. Last year, that horse was American Pharoah. This year, that horse is Nyquist. I'll give you a backup pick just because we're on this show, and then I'll conclude. And if I was going to give one backup pick, and boy, I'll shock everybody here. I'm just going to go with the second best horse in California, which is Exaggerator. Joe gave them to you a little bit earlier. He actually freaked in the Santa Anita Derby while he was there in the rain. I'm not crazy about seeing that kind of performance on the off track. I was going to ask Joe to tell us a little bit of a secret because I happen to know that he was eavesdropping in on a conversation of Exaggerator's jockey just this past Saturday when he and I went to the racetrack together, just to share possibly what he heard that particular jockey saying about what he thought his mount's chances are on Saturday against Nyquist. But again, we're going to be back on Friday, and I'll give a little bit more. I'm going to turn it back over to Joe because Joe was there. He did hear Exaggerator's jockey, and that concludes my Kentucky Derby analysis.
Yeah, Rich, he was about, well, I don't know, maybe somewhere 6 to 8 feet from where we were standing, and I'm fairly certain he was talking to another trainer, but I didn't recognize the gentleman. He was actually in a conversation with another person as well, so it was 3 of them, and he was talking about, I guess, the work because he had just come back from working Exaggerator in Kentucky that morning, and he mentioned something about the time being the same that he worked just before the Santa Anita Derby, so he was happy about that. But he realizes, and I don't think he was really talking necessarily about Nyquist. I think he was talking more about Dancing Candy, knowing that he's going to need some help in order to be able to, get past the speed horses. He knows he's going to need some kind of pace to run into, and I just don't know. I'm fairly certain that Dancing Candy is going to provide some pace. If Dancing Candy goes 47 and change, we got a whole different ball game. But I'm just not sure I can see that happening. But I know Kent said he knows his horse is going to need some help because he knows what kind of style he is, and I don't think he's going to deviate from that at all. So he'll probably be 15th, 16th. He'll be one of the back markers. Of course, it may be pretty crowded back there, so somebody might be about 9 wide going around that first turn. But yeah, he was fairly certain that he knows he's going to need help in trying to run down the speed in this race, because of the style and because of the fact that it's a 20-horse field and he knows this horse is a dead closer.
All right, for those who didn't hear that, Joe and I this past weekend, in preparation for the biggest weekend in racing, decided to take a Saturday off, and we went to the Los Alamitos Thoroughbred track over in Orange County. It is a truly lovely racetrack. Very intimate, very closed in, and as Joe mentioned, he found himself just about 6 feet away from Hall of Famer Kent DeSormo, and he's dropping on his conversation, so we got a little bit of insight there right from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. 3-time Derby winner, if I remember correctly. I know 2 of them I can remember by name.
All right, gentlemen, that was a very interesting experience, and that gives you some of our thoughts there for the Kentucky Oaks, the Woodford Reserve Turf Classic, and the Kentucky Derby. As always, we are planning on coming back. We will be here on Friday night, so that's all the time we have for tonight. If you enjoyed the show, we're going to be back at our normal time on Friday night. That's 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time, and we are going to be reviewing the Kentucky Derby card only, and we will be reviewing it for our normal Pick 4 ticket. So for Joe English and for Ray Rock, my friend Ray Torrado. I keep doing that. Me and Ray are social media friends, and I have a tendency to call him by his social media name. So my friend is Ray Torrado. He's the other racing analyst. I'm Rich Sharp. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.